Hi, welcome guys. I'm Elizabeth and I'm your narrator. I've lived here in Avalon for 3 years. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to give you a lot of information about the island, but if I miss anything, please do ask. Um, and I hope I know the answer. If not, I'll ask Dave. He's very knowledgeable. So we are leaving the Cabrillo Mall. We're not too sure why it's called the mall, but it is. And we are on one side of the town. Okay, everybody know who William Wrigley Jr. is? He made his fortune in bubblegum, juicy fruit, and also he is the owner of Chicago Cubs. He purchased this island in 1919 for $2 million. And he brought the Cubs over here from 1921 through 1951. Even though he passed away in 32, they continued to do so. You know, they had their own little houses, and you know, it's a beautiful island. Why not come back here every year, right? And this is the Conservancy. They do own a majority of the island, and there's on the third floor is an observation deck. So if you're here at night, I think they probably have a nice view of the fireworks today, if you guys are still here for that time. But it's, you know, it's definitely one of our favorite times of the year right now, today. This area is Front Street with all our stores and restaurants. And then this area is known as the Flats because it is the flattest part of Avalon. Happy 4th, guys. Happy 4th. Happy birthday, too. Here's 3rd Street. We're not sure why it's called 3rd Street because we don't have a 1st, 2nd, or 4th Street. So if you notice the spaces in between some of these homes, they're really tight. But this area is known as Tent City. They were selling parcels that were 20 by 40 feet, and when they started developing it further, they were building the homes, and some took advantage of their every square inch, should I say. They need, you know, a lot of these places don't have very much room in them, so everybody's always fighting for space or trying to be more organized, you know, have more space. But I say, you know, get rid of the majority of the stuff. You don't need it anyways. I don't like cramps. And then everybody's getting ready for the golf cart parade. And so, well, I'm sorry guys, but you know you're missing it. It starts at 1, okay. And they have the USC band that starts the parade off. And but they'll be playing today during the fireworks show as well. I think they have a concert at the casino at 6 o'clock, 6:30. This is our grocery store bonds. This is the only bonds, the grocery store we have here in Avalon. They take care of us, 4,000 people, with all you know, all our visitors that we have this summer. We're expecting at least 1 million people to come through. And 4th of July kind of really sets it off too. But they have a great customer. They have great customer service. Their delis, the you know, really good, very popular. And so we're going up to the summit, which is 1,400 feet up, and then the airport is at 1,600. Our tallest mountain is Mount Orizaba at 2,200. This is one of the older buildings we have, 1889. That's our community church. And then over here on the left is our museum, where we have some artifacts from the Tongva, the first people from 8,000 years ago. And so we do have 4,000 people on the island. We have a hospital, a K through 12 school. We just graduated 35 out of 500 students. We have 2 fire departments, mayor, city hall, everything we would need to run a city. We have LA Sheriff, we're LA County Incorporated. And so, everything that happens at Catalina does not stay in Catalina. And then this is a newer brewery that started up last year. Very popular. They have beer pong, table games, fire pits. But the island barbecue is there as well. And that just started up this spring. They've become very popular. That's where that barbecue smell is. And we're probably going to be here for a minute because not too many people stop for vehicles to go down the road. So that's Blue Water. They have free sourdough bread, which is rare. Nobody gets anything free on Catalina. There's Pier 24. They are a brand new Italian restaurant that have gotten great reviews. And then, of course, our casino. The casino is not a gambling place, but a gathering place. That's what it means in Italian. It was built in 1929. It is 12 stories high, and it only has 2 levels. The bottom level is a movie theater where they played silent movies. And then it's made up in Art Deco, so it's got that pretty design. But they have a beautiful mural inside that movie theater where it starts off with a tango and it kind of goes through history, ending, of course, in 1929. And they do play current movies. They play movies Friday and Saturday nights. And then on the top level, it is at the time was the world's largest circular ballroom, and they fit about 3,000 people. We used to have ships coming in from Long Beach, 2,000 people on these steamships with a live band. So once they arrived in Avalon, that party continued in the casino. They did broadcast live nationwide, and also they actually have roller skating now. So if you want to go roller skating and trying to find something to do, they have it at all times. Whenever it's open, there's no specific time. And then they also have this beautiful balcony that goes around the outside. For me, it's worth a visit. So we are going to go and take a look at Wrigley's mansion. It was built in 1921. They moved in 1922. It's 3 stories high, 6 bedrooms, and a Turkish bath. They donated it to USC in 1945. In 1985, they leased it out to the island company. So that's one thing I failed to mention is, when Wrigley purchased the island, it was under the name of Catalina Island Company. So when I refer to the island company, I mean the Wrigley's. So they leased it out to the Wrigley's, and it's now a bed and breakfast. And the only people that can enter the premises is if you are staying there. There is only one time a year they open it to the public, and that is during the month of December, and it's one day. Museum sponsors like an open house, but that is the only time you can go and see the premises. They do offer you a golf cart and, of course, breakfast if you do stay there. So if you kind of balance that out, golf cart the whole time you're here. If you rent a golf cart, it's usually just, for 2 hours, or maybe some other units offer golf carts as well. And they block the better view. Well, I think we have another view we could take pictures of. So you're also going to notice those fire breaks out in the hills right there. Those were put in after a fire we had in 1915. That is during the Banning brothers' ownership of the island. And we also had another fire in 2007. It started off in the interior. It made its way to the city. We evacuated over 3,000 people on steamships or boats. And here we are. We're gonna take a little. If you guys want to get up and take pictures, you're more than welcome to. It's a, but that mansion is right across from us, on the other side of the hill, above that white fence. That is Mount Ada, and Wrigley built that there so his wife can have the first view of the sunrise and the last view of the sunset. And then the house on the lower left-hand side, that white one with the red tile, that is a brand new Wrigley mansion. That is where his great-granddaughter Allison Wrigley lives with her husband Jeff Brusack. They are originally from Santa Barbara, so when they're in town, they stay there. And then you also notice there's a house on the ledge just left of that museum, that hotel, the Wrigley Hotel. And that is that brown building with the white windows, and that's the Swanson family home. They selected that location for the bird's eye view. So if you guys are ready, we can continue. Just have your seat, and we're good to go. And you can kind of see our golf course. We're going to be going around, separate views. But we had the first golf course west of the Mississippi in the mid-1800s, and it started off with only 3 holes. We did have 18 holes at one time, but right now we have 9 holes. I think it was nicely spread out with just having 9. And so the Wrigley children gave the Conservancy 600 acres in 1972. In 1975, they gave them 88% of the island. So the 12% the Wrigley's own is the city of Avalon, 2 harbors, 3 of 5 campsites, and a ranch called Rancho Escondido in the inside, where they have a vineyard. The grapes have not matured. They have a vineyard, a chapel that oversees Little Harbor and the West End, which is really beautiful. And then they also have Arabian horses there. They do offer tours there, and that's through the Island Company. So if you're interested, you can go online. It's Rancho Escondido. So, and then of course, like the 5 campgrounds. We have 5 campgrounds because we have a hiking trail called the Catalina Trail, 38.5 miles, and those hikers will actually use the majority of those hikers. It takes 3 to 4 days to hike the trail. Some start here in Avalon, and others start in 2 harbors. And 2 harbors is a 45-minute boat ride away. You can catch a boat called Cyclone on the pier. Takes 45 minutes. It's $60 round trip. And 2 harbors is a small town. There's only 200 people living there. They have a grocery store, restaurant, a hotel, and a hotel, campsite, restaurant, and market. I just want to make sure I got those far in there. Sorry. It's like, but I love going there. It's really quiet. There's no golf courses, and you can actually hear the water. A lot of boaters like that location because, Ventura and Santa Barbara, there's a lot of castles in that area. So, and I like to, start with the history of how the island was made. The island was made during the Farallon Plate subducting under the continental plate. During that subduction, there was, that scraping of the continental plate underneath it, the Farallon Plate going underneath. So we're the remnants of that action. So we are actually called the continental borderlands. We are not attached to the mainland. So there's 8 channel islands, 4 northern and 4 southern. The 4 southern were made from the Farallon Plate. The northern channel islands is part of the Santa Monica Mountains, and it's actually one island called Rosé. The Chumash actually claim the 4 northern ones, and those are from the Indians from Santa Barbara. And then the 4 southern are claimed by the Tonga LA Basin tribe. And so the Tonga had been here for at least 8,000 years. You know, they were living on the outside skirts. Not too many lived, you know, in the inside of the island. It's more like you know, 2 harbors, Avalon, the larger coves. And, you know, they were fine through history. You know, they survived the, you know, the marine life. They actually find piles of, you know, trash, which, you know, are the bones of fish or, you know, the animals they were eating, so they could find the diets of their people. And we also, so they were fine in like the mid 1500s. That's when Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo discovered the island. He claimed it for Spain, and he named it San Salvador. And then in 1603, another Spaniard named Sebastian Vizcaino also claimed the island for Spain, not realizing Cabrillo had already gone through. But he renamed it to Santa Catalina in honor of Saint Catherine of Alexandria. It was a feast day during their voyage, and so that's what he named it in her honor. And it wasn't until the late 1700s, early 1800s, the missionaries started removing the Indians, the Tongas, from the island and moving them over to San Gabriel, calling them Gabrielino Tonga. However, they prefer just Tonga for their ancestors. And then the Hidalgo Treaty was being signed. This is when California was going to switch hands from Mexico to the United States. They, you know, there was a governor named Pio Pico. That's not his complete name, but I always, you know, skip his middle name. He was riding out of the state, and his horse gave up on him in Santa Barbara. He was looking for a replacement, and he found Tim Robbins. He owned a ranch, and so he asked him for a horse, which he gladly gave him, and a saddle. In return is when Pico gave Tim the deed to Catalina. That is how it became privatized. We are the only one of 8 that are privatized. And so we are just, okay, we got a little bit of time. So after that, there has been different owners. George Chateau was one of them. You know, a lot of them tried to make this a resort destination. However, they did not have the money to do so. Wrigley did. So, you know, Chateau wasn't successful, but his sister named the city Avalon. And then the Fanny brothers, they were developers that were developing LA. Their family was, you know, into developing cities, and so they were trying to make it a resort destination when the fire in 1915 happened. After that, they couldn't recoup. They built a hotel in Descanso Beach. However, it wasn't enough, so that's when they sold it to Wrigley in 1919 for $2 million. Some of you may have noticed those holes that are kind of lined up on the eucalyptus trees. Those are sapsuckers. Those are cousins of the woodpecker. and they line up when they, are stuck in the south. They actually go into that line. And so the Banning brothers are the ones that actually built these roads. It took about 3 to 4 hours to go up. There is an area we're going to reach right now. It is where they would stop and give their horses water. And it's also the shape of a horseshoe, and they always say you should make a wish when you're going around.
You said something about Salvador? Like the forest?
Yeah.
Who was the person that found it first?
Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo.
And he's the one that went to Salvador too?
No, that he named his boat San Salvador, so he named it in its honor.
Okay.
And then here is the horseshoe, if you guys want to make the wish. This is a place also that Fox like to hang out at, but usually later in the afternoon. Yeah, so the first person was Cabrillo. He named the island San Salvador over his flagship. And so it's they say it was like 3 to 4 hours going up the hill and only 17 minutes going down. And so, Wrigley was probably going into the interior a lot. It was quite dark when he was coming home, and his horses were the ones really bringing him home. And his wife wasn't, too thrilled about it. She was worried about his safety. She insisted he do something about it, and so he brought over these eucalyptus trees from Australia. And he had them lining the roads. And they've been securing the roads for over 100 years. And the reason why he chose eucalyptus is because their root systems go straight down. You may see some that were caught on fire from the fire in 2007. They don't remove them because they are still securing the roads. They may be dead, but the root system and stumps are also just, supporting it. They've been doing a great job. The Conservancy will not close the road for any repairs. They do patchwork, so there are portions of the road that are bumpy. Because this road is vital. We have vehicles going to the airport a lot on a daily basis, and we are only allowed to go on one road. And so, this is actually our better truck. I prefer this truck over the other one, just to let you know. Yeah, it's a lot smoother. So, and for those people in the back. Yeah, so that is our reservoir. It's 100 feet deep. We actually don't use that water. It's like for emergency purposes. But we have Edison taking care of our electricity, our gas, and our water. They actually desalinize water, and that's what we use for tap water. And so that's probably one of the reasons why they give you bottled water at restaurants, because it's desalinized. So we're hoping to see some bison. We just saw we saw some, them laying down up by that radio station or that tower over there. So we're gonna hope they're still there. We always wish they were closer, but we can't guarantee where they're at or how close they are to the vehicle. And not yet. Yeah, we haven't been able to see them just yet. And they always move, so that's one thing, even though we may have seen them once, it doesn't mean that they're going to be there an hour later, because they are constantly moving. And then this, the island's 22 miles long, 8 miles wide, and half a mile at the shortest distance. And that one, the portion of the island that's sticking out, that kind of looks like, a duckhead laying down, that is actually a Long Point. The other side of the island is called China Point, and it's 8 miles wide from that point. So it seems like they are on the move. We're just hoping that we're able to see them. There's about 3 of them that like to hang out in this area. And, you know, I know one of them that likes to hide in the middle of the bushes. But they, you know, walk the ridge. You know, sometimes they're just right here. It's just random, you know. They're unpredictable. And so our bison, how they got here was in 1924. Zane Grey, the Western novelist, wrote a book and was making a movie called The Vanishing American. He that was in 1924. He brought over 14 bison for the movie. Well, the person that was in charge of them didn't do a great job because they end up vanishing themselves. They, you know, they have 48,000 acres to roam, and so they made the movie without them. And when they wrapped up the production of the movie, they did not retrieve those bison. So over time, those 14 bison turned over 500. We had 500 bison on the island. They were just destroying it, though. There's no vegetation on the hillsides. They were just mounds of dirt. The Conservancy ended up selling the majority of them to private ranchers and a Indian reservation in South Dakota. So right now we only have about 80. They are sterile, so they will not be reproducing. And they're free roaming. So this is a reservoir. They like, you know, that's something they like to, you know, hang around on, and that they're not there. That's April. We've had a dry season, but that water usually reaches that bench and up to the logs over here. So it tells you what kind of season we're going to have, which is extremely dry. And then this is Reservoir Park. This is where our locals come if they want to try to get away from people in town. And also our hikers stop through here. The trail just goes through the section. And so you'll notice, so that noise, you guys know that noise? Those are squirrels making that noise. So you'll notice our trees are wrapped. That is because of our deer. We have mule deer, and they like to eat trees, especially the ones that are just growing. So they like to eat the brand new, you know, leaves that are sprouting up. And if you eat enough of those, they actually kill the tree. So that's why they are protected. And so this is just another place that's possible that they're there and we don't see them. Bison can weigh, males can weigh up to 3,000 pounds, females up to 2,500 pounds. They can run as fast as 35 miles an hour and jump as high as 6 feet off the ground. You know, our bison have known to attack you know, people without having any kind of, you know, without warning. So, you know, they are dangerous. That area back there, there's some white cabins. Those are for the volunteer, corporate volunteers. So if you have a company that wants to do team building, they will house them there as well as feed them. They just ask you about, you know, if you can plant some trees, maybe clean up some of the trails, and also mend some fences. But, you know, they have a variety of things they will have, you know, have you doing. So in the 1800s, they were trying to make this a hunter's, you know, kind of paradise thing. They brought wild boar, goats, and the deer. Unfortunately, the Conservancy eradicated the wild boar and the goats in the 1990s, and they're considered to be um, removing the deer as well. The city has made quite a fuss. They are totally against it. They will not, they did not want that from happening. So they've delayed it for a year. Right now, they are pushing it so much where the Conservancy went from giving out 300 permits to over 1,000. And that is mainly for locals because it's very difficult to come into the interior. You have to have a vehicle. We had a lot of people doing bikes. I'll stop there for a second. That below is Toyon Bay. That is where we have Catalina Island Marine Institute. They have educational programs. We send our students there for spring break. They also have summer programs, but they always have fun. They do work. We have done experience with marine life, snorkeling, and kayaking. But also during World War II in 1941, the military found 6 Japanese submarines in the San Pedro Channel. And when the military found that out, they evacuated everyone from the island and made it a military base. That area was a top secret facility. It was the Office of Strategic Services, we now know as the CIA. So that is where it was established during World War II. So you'll see some military things around the island. There's a machine gun replica at a park, and that would protect the bay there. Or with the deer, they have 1,000 permits, and the reason why it's really for locals is they're trying to get them to maybe make some money off of them sponsoring people. Because they have to have a vehicle, they have to house them because campsites do not allow weapons. So, and you need to be able to access locations, especially being able to go into some of these canyons, because that's where the deer likes to hide. And if you're just, riding a bike, how are you going to address this deer? You can't carry it around on your backpack. It just won't work out. And so, they're trying to, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to maybe have these locals start their own business and be these hunters' sponsors. So, this is the Conservancy trying to work with the island, or the town people. So we also have fox on the island. They were brought from the Northern Channel Islands. They have been here on Catalina for at least 5,000 years. The Indians did also bury them. They had like their own burial grounds. So they must have thought of them as sacred animals. But we say that they were here for 5,000 years, and they were brought over from the Northern Islands, where they had their fox for at least 12,000 years. So they don't really know the mainland, so they like to say that these fox are endemic to the island. They are really small. They're 4 to 7 pounds. They're the size of a cat, and they're super cute too. But there's no predators on the island. There's no coyotes, no mountain lions. So that's the reason why they shrunk. They say if you fit in the bread box, you will be bigger than the bread box. If you are bigger than the bread box, then you're going to shrink. And so that's why our fox are tiny. It's because they really don't have any predators. So they are reddish brown on the sides. On the top, they're like black silver. They really blend into the environment, so they're difficult to spot. we did almost lose our fox. With the fox, there was a raccoon that made it to the island and brought distemper, killing off a lot of fox. And the Conservancy, was really scratching their head that time because they didn't know, how to stop it. There's 48,000 acres. Fox are small and there's too many places to hide. So what they actually found out is at two harbors on the isthmus, the peninsula section of the island, they closed it off and they closed off where they couldn't cross from one side to the other. And they were able to save at least 500 foxes. And they let the distemper run its course. Eventually, they let go of the 500, I'd like to say 1,000, right? The 500 fox into the island, so now we have about 2,000. We do have a fox biologist that's here for the fox. They do count. They do give them immunizations. Once in a while, you'll see a fox that has a collar on, and that's only to check on their progress of recovery. And we're trying to see. There is a bison down there. We're going to take a look. This is a reservoir, and so we're trying to see if there is one. I think we'll see it from the other side, but there were a few here just the other day. So they're free roaming. So nobody can guarantee that you'll see one. Below on the right hand side, that is White's Landing. You'll better look at it in a second. That's where the Boy and Girl Scouts used to take their troops. They had to sell it last year because there was a lot of work that needed to be done to their structures, and so they sold it to this company that has glamping. And they have yurts, cabins, and tents that are fully it looks like it moved, that are fully furnished. They have a communal kitchen, and they also have a meal package. Let's hold it there for a second. So below, if you guys can have a better look, there's White's Landing. They have glamping there. They have, like I said, the cabins, yurts, and tents that are fully equipped. They have a communal kitchen and a meal package. I was super excited to hear about that meal package until I found out the cost. I did for 4 people for 2 nights. It was $720. I said, no way. I'll have to take advantage of the communal kitchen. I did have a couple here that had spent a couple days there, and they said that they were serving hamburger and hot dogs one night. I was like, there's no way I'm gonna pay that much money for hamburger and hot dogs. But the only way to get there is by boat. They do have a lot of different activities that keep you busy, and you can tell it's a popular location because of all the boats that are on there. But it's definitely on my plan to do. And the more word gets out, the busier it's going to get. This is our first year, so of course they're not busy. But I believe next year it won't be the case. And so we are kind of close to the airport. It was built in 1941, called Airport on the Sky, because it looks like it's floating when the clouds are down. And that's up 1,600 feet. Made public, so built in 41, made for the public 46. It is an active runway, so we ask you not to go near the planes or near the runway. They also have a little restaurant and a gift shop and some beautiful views. We ask you not to really order anything big because we may not be there long enough. Also, if you get anything to drink, make sure it has a lid on it. You know, if not, it is a bouncy road, and you will dirty yourself as well as the vehicle. But they also have these cookies that they say that they're pretty, you know, a lot of people come in for them. I think they're just cookies, but, you know, it could be, you know, you could make up your own mind. There's another reservoir back there. I haven't seen anything there, but there's always a chance. So we also at the airport, there's a cat named Dusty. The airport is its home. No real owner. They did take it to the Humane Society in town, and it found its way back to the airport. So when it did that, they're like, no way. He walked over 10 miles to get here. He's staying here. So he is super friendly. He loves, you know, he doesn't mind being pet. He loves half and half. And, you know, if you see him, you know, say hi. You won't mind. So the other thing we do have is eagles on the island. We have 4 sets of nests. And, well, eagles that have nests. And at one time, in the early 1900s, there's at least 60 eagles within Avalon. They were actually hunting them until they are made the national bird. So in the 50s and 70s, they were dumping DDT into the LA sewers, making its way to the ocean, contaminating the fish. The eagles were eating that fish, and so their population started dropping. Their eggshells did not have calcium in them, so they were not able to, you know, have any, you know, chicks. This is Lone Rock, this Long Point. This is the longest, widest point of the island. So the Conservancy joined up with this biologist named Peter Sharp, and he, you know, they worked with him, and it wasn't until 1990 they realized what Peter needed to do. So Peter, that's the other side of the island. So that's the Pacific right there, and that little harbor on the other side. But so Peter, started in 1990. He started flying over the nest, propelling in a helicopter, propelling down, removing the eggs, replacing them with fake eggs, taking them over to Santa Cruz and San Francisco, and put them in incubators. Once they hatched, they would return them back to the nest the same exact way. Well, Peter ended up doing this for 12 years. Not until 2002 they finally allowed those eggs that they hatched and leave them in the nest to you know, hatch it naturally. No, that was by Day. That was like one of our first posts that I showed you about the campaign. I'll show you. It's a house. I always get interrupted, you know. I get involved in the story and I always forget to look at my right hand side. So now we have 4 sets of eagles. One in east of the island known as Seal Rock, where we have over 200 seals. And then there is one in Hamilton Cove, where you see those white condos. I'll show you on the way back. Middle Ranch, and then 2 harbors. So we also have rattlesnakes, garter snakes, gopher snakes, king snakes on the island, and they say that things were brought over by the wind, wing, or wave. So the snakes probably got here because of like vegetation patches or maybe debris being, moved from storms. During a storm, it may have been lifted up and floated across the ocean. So that's how we got a lot of the animals that we got here. The squirrels and of course the snakes and lizards. But our squirrels are actually special. They have an anti-venom from the rattlesnake bite. There was research from Loma Linda University, and they noticed that, they were waving, squirrels were waving their tail at these rattlesnakes. And this is something they're not born into. It's something, I would say it's like maybe their cycle once they've gone from adolescence to their teens. And, they develop this protein in their blood that actually is the anti-venom. And so when the squirrels would shake their tail, they're sending off a heat signature distracting the snake. And that is because they're protecting their young. Because if that snake attacked their young, they know that it will kill them because they don't have that same immunity. And so we do have 5 campgrounds. One's at Hermit Gulch, which is the easiest accessible campground. We have one Blackjack, which you have to at least hike a mile from the airport, and then to Little Harbor, which you'll probably have to hike 3 miles, and then 2 Harbors, which you have to hike over a hill, and that's exhausting. Every time you want to go into town and get back to your unit, you have to climb over that hill, and then Parsons Landing, which you do have to hike there too. So we're going to have a few minutes to take a break. This is where they have a DC-3 in the hangar, belong to PK Wrigley. However, it is rarely ever open. And again, please do not go into the runway. It is an active runway. And be back at 1, I think he said 1:30.
¿Y el botón? El botón, ¿dónde era? ¿Por qué no hay wifi?
No wifi. Is there any questions? No questions? Okay. We're gonna you have a question?
No.
Okay, we're gonna be playing some music and my mic is not working yet.
platforms, 5 platforms for the zip line. It takes about 2 hours to go through. You're 500 feet in the air, and it's about $150 per person. So you can get that at Descanso Beach. You can get it online, Descanso Rapid Pier. You're going to have to go to Descanso to get your safety gear, and they'll bring you up in a shuttle. And so, huh? We have had accidents, but you know, that's why there's a lot of safety procedures, yes. But Descanso has an obstacle course, rock wall climbing, kayaking. They also have a falcon experience. I think during weekends you have, you know, they do activities with an owl, a hawk, and of course a falcon. They also have a restaurant and bar, which is really nice. It's alongside the water. They open from 11 to 5. And they also have like a grassy area that you can have picnics on. They have a lot of weddings there. They have cabanas that go for about $500 a day. Lounge chairs for $100 a day. And that's just depending on the day of the week. It can be more. So we do have a rocky coastline. So we actually have to import our sand from Santa Barbara. And that goes for here as well in town. And so you'll see where all those people are laying out. That's all free. So you can take your own towel, you know, and obviously umbrellas, chairs, and you can set up around the fire pit or even in front of the lounge chairs. But I think maybe people think it's a little bit too close to the water. They also have showers. So if you're going to, you know, go into the water, they have showers there as well. There's some nice, today's turning out. Those are jet skis. So there's a jet ski company that comes over from Long Beach. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours to come over here. They spend, I think they have their meal and then they go back. I'm not too sure how much time they spend here. And there's that cyclone, so if you want to go to Two Harbors, that big yellow boat, that will take you over there. It's 45 minutes. And this is the Chime Tower, a gift from Europe to Ada Wrigley. And then Zane Grey Pueblo Hotel. Once he passed away, they made his home a hotel. They have breakfast and shuttle service. They also have a penthouse for $2,000 a night. Yeah, there's a snake on the roof too. I just noticed. You can see the front of the mansion from here. And then this is the front of the Zane Grey Pueblo Hotel. And then the green structures right here, that's like a mini resort for the Wrigleys. It is attached to their mansion, so it's where their friends and family stay at. They have their own pool, also, you know, cabana. Some of these are, you know, like original housing, pretty old, you know, at least 100 years old. This one right here is George Chateau's. He was one of the original owners. His sister is the one that named the city Avalon. And then there's this structure right here on the left. That's in Bangkok. That's where they used to have mariachis and they had little shops. But at night, that's where the teenagers had their hangout and their get-togethers. They would have dances and have their fun. As when the grown-ups went to the casino and had their own fun, right? And this is the Naughty Fox. And all the chairs are gone as well. Most people probably didn't even show them. So you guys are in time. The bands are going to start playing at 3 o'clock. And they'll have brunch on weekends and dinner after 5. Parasailing with cultural tours. They're the ones with the fun flying there. Coney Island West is the next best thing to fetch food for us. There's that Pier 24, brand new Italian restaurant. There's karaoke at Galleon Thursday through Saturdays.
I know. We had to swim to the water.
And then this is owned by the Island Company. Metro Cafe Metropole has organic food, cookie company, the best coffee and pastries. We're passing our post office where we have our post office with no mailman. This is original bonds. Island Company business office. These are hotels that were built in the 20s. Our sheriff's office and libraries down there. We have an escape room. Any questions?
That reminds me of San Francisco.
Yeah. That house? Yeah. That is, I guess you could see fireworks from the 6th floor
Oh yeah.
there from over town. And then Sumner is our main street. So on the left-hand side of Vaughn's, there's miniature golf. If you continue going down this way, you're going to hit City Hall, Fire Department, Park, the hospital, a school, golf course, horseback riding, campgrounds, and Wrigley's Memorial and Botanical Gardens. And then this is Eucalyptus Street. Not sure why it's called that because there's no eucalyptus on that street. And if you can look down the way, there's our city hall, and then the bungalows that the Cubs used to stay at. They had their own little casitas and bungalows that they would stay in. There was a ball field there, but they cemented it over, and it's now like a rec area for the kids here in town. And then if you go down this road, there's actually a couple of roads if you're going to go down Wrigley Road. There's our pet cemetery. They still bury their pets there. And then this, I'd like to say, is a rental row. This is like the majority of where the renters are. So there's 2,300 housing units and 1,300 are locals. All others are vacation rentals. So it's very competitive. I mean, everything's just about the same price to stay at, depending on what the features have. They have ghost tours. If you go fishing and catch a fish, lobster trap will cook your fish for you. And then there's endemic. They have great sushi. Tiles will come in. We had here in the 20s. You could get some tiles. And then Joe's Rent-A-Boat, you can get paddle boat, paddle board, kayaking, and motorboats. You can also find parasailing, the submarine, as well as some good fish and chips on that pier. Yeah, so I like to say our sheriffs are on retirement mode. And parking enforcement writes more tickets than we do. We really don't have any crime here. So there's a machine gun replica for protecting the bay. They have a beautiful picture of the island, the Conservancy. And there's old Ben, sea lion that befriended everyone here in Avalon. He came through in the late 1800s into 1920s. He would take pictures with people, go swimming with them, splash them for fun, but they enjoyed his company. And one day he just stopped showing up. So they dedicated that little park to him and his room afterwards. So we are done with our tour. We thank you for choosing Catalina Adventure Tours for your inside tour. Yes, thank you. So there's going to be a few movements. Please do not get out of your seats just yet. And as always, thank you. And gratuities are appreciated.